Scheller in particular has done a great job from day one of just being a very warm culture, and that you feel like when you're engaging with, everyone from the Career Center to the students in, the class above you, people are just very open to having conversations, coffee chats, answering questions that you might have. And that kind of takes a lot of the initial stigma away with, can I do this?
Welcome to another episode of the Intersection Podcast, brought to you by the Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business. I'm your host, Analisa Wade. I'm a second-year full-time MBA student here, and I'm very excited to bring you today's episode. We have two amazing guests. One is an evening student. The other is a second-year full-time MBA student with me, and we're going to talk about women in technology. So welcome, Brook. Welcome, Rose. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Are you guys excited to do this episode?
So excited.
I've been really eager to bring you on, so I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this. I guess first, maybe take a second to introduce yourselves. What's your background? What do you do now?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having us. My name is Brook. I'm a second-year full-time MBA student here at Scheller, and I have a background in the fashion tech industry. So prior to the program, I was working for Amazon Fashion, loved what I was doing, but really wanted to double down on the business acumen that I felt like I was missing. So really wanted to come to a program that was perfectly positioned between business and technology, and Scheller was the only thing that made sense for me. So glad that I'm here and looking forward to graduating May 2025.
That's awesome. I love that. Love your story. What about you, Rose?
My name is Rosa Espiritu, and I'm a second-year evening MBA student. Prior to Scheller, I was a software engineer in an individual contributor role, and I knew that I wanted to move out of that to have a bigger impact. So I joined Scheller to explore my options between software engineering manager and PM, product manager.
That's very exciting. So when you started the program, you already had a job. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So I started the program. I was an IC at FanDuel, and then while in the program, I ended up having an opportunity to become a software engineering manager at Microsoft.
Wow, that's awesome. That's not my story quite, but I would love to hear more about how you both fell into the tech industry. I know you were at Amazon Fashion. You've been in multiple different places in the tech industry. So why tech? How were you drawn to that? Brooke, we can start with you.
Yeah. So years before, I worked in the traditional retail industry. So I worked in luxury fashion as well as an entrepreneur for a number of years. And I think that I've always been drawn to startups in the entrepreneurial industry. But in my case, I really loved the fashion industry, but knew that I really didn't want to continue being client-facing. I really wanted to, work on problems that I felt like were harder problems to solve, but also really be able to go home at the end of the day and be proud of what I built. So transitioning out of traditional retail was really strategic, and I knew that the tech industry had a lot of opportunities just because of my dealings in the startup space. So transitioning into fashion tech has been an amazing opportunity. I think I got the perfect blend of what I was looking for in terms of wanting to work on hard problems, but also being around fashion, being able to keep up with trends and where the industry is headed in the future.
So do you just particularly have a passion for fashion? Is that something that you have loved since a kid, or where did that come from too?
Yeah, I think since I was very young, I was drawn to the fashion industry. I think it was one of those places and spaces that a lot of people, speak about, and that they first maybe had a lot of their creative moments dealing with what are they wearing to school on the first day, or accessorizing their kindergarten outfits and those sorts of things. So that never really left me as I grew up. I think in high school, I ran a modeling club, and then in undergrad, I built a modeling agency. Wow. So I've always been around fashion, and I think that I thrived really behind the scenes. So I knew that working in the industry, wanting to be client-facing or really in front of the camera was not something I was super comfortable doing. But I really, was able to collaborate with people who maybe that was their strong suit, and I could really, add value behind the scenes.
Yeah, you could have fooled me. You look great, on camera.
Thanks.
I'm glad to have you here.
Absolutely.
And before I jump to you, Rose, how did you learn about fashion and technology and that being a thing? Honestly, before you, I hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's honestly a very new sector. And I think the tech industry is really great about really any industry now, there's an intersection with technology. And so with fashion in particular, it's one of the industries that I think have taken a long time to really get comfortable and warm up to technology. And a lot of retail industries, even, they still use very old POS systems and, old technologies to communicate with their customers. Truly what I'm interested in doing is sort of merging the experience that you would get in a traditional brick and mortar store, and figuring out how do we talk to customers in an online e-commerce space, but also what are some technologies that are coming down the pipeline that people are unaware of. So just really kind of staying ahead of trends, seeing what's happening in technology more broadly, and seeing how I can sort of inject that into the fashion industry is my interest.
That's awesome. I really hope that continues to work for you. It sounds like you have a really good plan and it's well thought through. So Rose, jumping to you, as an engineer, very rare that we hear this. So how did that happen? Did you just roll out the bed one day and say, oh, I want to be an engineer, or was there like an actual plan with that?
So I initially went to LSU and I had a bachelor's of science in kinesiology, pre-med, and I ended up moving to California to pursue my doctorate in chiropractic, and I realized that it wasn't for me. Didn't really like touching bodies as much, but I did really like holistic medicine, which is something that I was randomly really into. During this time, LA was becoming more of like this tech hub. Netflix had just built their headquarters there. Snapchat had just started there. And so I ended up getting introduced to tech that way. I started going to hackathons, different events, just learning about the tech industry. At the time, folks make themselves really, really accessible. I remember they used to have these fireside chats in Santa Monica with the CEO of Box and all of these growing companies. And I even met the CEO, one of the co-founders of MySpace, not Tom, but the other one. I just got introduced to it and I saw how much of an impact it had. With healthcare, you kind of impact one person at a time, but with technology, you can impact people at scale. And so I kind of tried it to get into the startup scene. So I tried to start a couple businesses early on, and I was in situations where I was having developers build my apps and I kind of felt like they were scamming me, basically. I felt like they were overcharging me, and I felt like, I need to know if I'm going to be, working as a, startup founder, I need to know more about the technology side. And so I started to teach myself how to code through just General Assembly and different workshops like that. And then I eventually chose to go to a coding boot camp, Hack Reactor, which was really, really strong at the time. This was during a time where coding boot camps were not very common. I remember my parents being like, wait, what's the certification? And this was probably 2 years into coding boot camps existing. But I did it. I remember being the only woman. I remember going to Santa Monica. Coding Dojo is where I was going to try to go first. And it was like a sweatshop. It was just a room full of guys, learning how to code. You were there for 12, 13 hours a day. But I did it. Yeah, I taught myself. And then from there, my first role ended up being at General Electric, in this startup division where we were building apps for the airplane industry. So it was GE. Yeah, it was GE. It was for airplanes, supply chain, and then also for GE Power, building digital twins for wind turbines and stuff. And then COVID happened. And so they ended up deciding to close their New Orleans hub. And I ended up transitioning into another company called Lucid, which was there's a lot of Lucids, actually. Oh, okay. So this is the one that's the market research company. Okay. And so they ended up doing really, really well during COVID. They ended up having $1 billion exit, which was really exciting. It was the first $1 billion exit within the state of Louisiana. So that was really exciting. And then, I was kind of sharing earlier, Hurricane Ida ended up coming short, a little bit further along. And I ended up saying, okay, I can't be in New Orleans anymore. And then so I ended up deciding kind of where would I want to live next. I wanted to stay in the South. I saw that a lot of companies were coming to Atlanta. And so I applied for a couple of roles and I got a few offers. The first offer ended up being Twitter. And this was basically, I got the offer, and then a week later, Elon Musk said that he was going to buy it. And so I was like, okay, I've already been through a closure, because of something else that happened. So I was like, I'm not going there. I ended up going to Microsoft. I ended up getting an offer from Microsoft and then FanDuel. So those two were kind of my two top options. And FanDuel just seemed sexier at the time because they, it was sports. And I remember the hiring manager at Microsoft saying, go ahead, go to FanDuel, but whenever you're ready for a career, you're going to come back to Microsoft. Mm. And so a couple years later, I ended up reaching out to him and seeing if there was an opportunity for me to join. as a senior software engineer. And he was like, no, I am going to have a senior software engineering role, but first I need to hire the manager. And I had already started considering management. It was something that I was thinking about whenever I was initially pursuing my MBA. So I was like, what if I applied for the role? And so he was like, at first he was hesitant. I kind of, shared my points about how I'd already been kind of leading my team. And so he, gave me an opportunity to interview, system design interviews, all of that. And then I ended up getting it. So I'm around 6 months into my first management role. I currently have 4 direct reports and 1 more person starting in 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's a really fascinating story, Rose. You made a really good point early on about you walked into a room and it was a room full of men. Can you just touch on a little bit more about that and what made you to continue to pursue that? Like, a lot of people walk in that room and walk right out, but you just dove right in. So what really made you want to do that?
Yeah, I think one, that was kind of already the problem, right? Like, I was trying to build an app with a guy, and I didn't know anything about coding, and he was able to tell me whatever price. He was able to tell me it was going to take 3 months. I had no context of how long or how much any of the work that he was actually doing whenever I was trying to, build my first startup. And so I think I was kind of prepared for it going in. And I think I just had the mindset of like, if I continuously expose myself to this, some of it will seep in. So I won't say that I was the best coder in the class or anything like that at all, but I just stuck to it. And then even over time, I'm shocked sometimes by like what I know about this stuff. And so I think it was just like the exposure and then just the showing up every day. A lot of my allies, in my career have been men. And so people notice whenever you're, staying late or you're putting in that extra effort, and they will reach out to kind of, help where they can.
Yeah, I mean, that a lot of that resonates with me, and I'm sure both of you, just being here at Scheller and it being a challenging space. We're always doing a lot of different things and having a lot of different challenges. So how would you say, I'll start with you, Brooke, how would you say that Scheller provides a space for you as a woman to feel like you can lead in tech?
It's a great question. I think that on the one hand, all spaces, probably all universities have a lot of work to do in terms of, the amount of women actually getting accepted into these programs. And even prior to acceptance, women feeling like they're worthy enough to apply to those programs. And so I think, Scheller in particular has done a great job from day one of just being a very warm culture, and that you feel like when you're engaging with, everyone from the Career Center to the students in, the class above you, people are just very open to having conversations, coffee chats, answering questions that you might have. And that kind of takes a lot of the initial stigma away with, can I do this? The second piece of it is really feeling like giving yourself permission and like sort of knowing like, people are experiencing imposter syndrome, but I have to do it anyway because me doing it sets a precedent that other people behind me can also do it. I think in my case, I've always been a person who, even when I'm facing something that could be scary or something that might be fearful, I should be fearful of, I've sort of just jumped anyway and known that like most of that fear is taking place in the mind. So if I could just get over the mental barrier, a lot of the rest of it will take care of itself. So I commend Scheller College for being a space where I've felt like from day one, I have permission to, pursue things that maybe other people are afraid to. I've felt comfortable raising my hand in class to answer questions or even ask questions that a lot of people don't. And I don't know if that comes with age or if that comes with just, time and spaces where you're typically maybe the minority or, being in spaces where you feel like maybe people might have prejudgments of who you are, but if you're like authentically true to yourself, I think you kind of can navigate those spaces pretty easy.
Wow, that really resonates with me as well. Like just the ability to even just be in this space at Scheller and just the different opportunities that are presented to us. Rose, do you have anything similar where you feel like you just really felt comfortable at Scheller and it's given you space to do things in technology specifically?
Yeah, I think from day one at the orientation, I think diversity is something that's definitely celebrated here. I've been surprised by how diverse the class is and how collaborative everyone has been really. I've really enjoyed also the smaller class size that makes it easier to kind of get to know everyone on an individual level.
Same. Like, I guess that brings me to the next point of we're both in the full-time program, so I know our experience is a little bit unique and maybe different from yours. Can you maybe touch on, because you did tell me you were in like a negotiations full-time course, and how is that experience different from seeing a full-time class and how we operate versus how evening operates?
I think the difference is that because full-time is a lockstep program, and so you're with your cohort for all the same cohort for all of the core classes, evening is a little bit different in that there are people from orientation that I might have never taken class with again. And so you do have to put in a little extra effort to create that community, but it is possible, but it is very difficult because folks are balancing, work and a full-time. Because folks are balancing job and they're also balancing school. But I think if you really, want to get the most out of your MBA program, it is worth that while to kind of take that extra step to make sure that you're forming those relationships with your classmates.
I absolutely agree. Like last year, I didn't go to as many socials because I was just so wrapped up in classwork, part-time jobs, and just doing different things. And this year, I'm really making it like accepting all those socials every week and just attending as much as I can so I can get the most out of the experience. That kind of brings me to my next point about you getting the most out of here. I know, Brooke, you said you wanted to come here, learn more about business, get more ingrained into tech. You wanted to pivot into a new role, which you successfully did that. But are there other ways in which you have found leadership opportunities to get involved into technology or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that it's a great question, and absolutely. I would say the one thing that, I'm very proud of that the three of us have gotten to work together on is the TechForward MBA Conference. Early on, I think we noticed that in my case, I came to Georgia Tech specifically for these, technology opportunities and where a lot of big tech companies may have, retail and fashion verticals, figuring out how to sort of navigate towards those spaces. And was just sort of seeing that, we're in a very metropolitan city with so many different tech companies, startups, VC firms, as well as big tech. A lot of those companies that we know and love are moving here as well. So with the Tech Forward Conference in particular, it's really been an amazing opportunity to not only do some outreach to those companies to say, Georgia Tech is here. We have really qualified talent. Students are super eager to jump in and make an impact within your firm. But it's also been a great opportunity to work with the two of you and sort of have us see, pulling out of each other, our skills that maybe we didn't know we had, really stretching ourselves, spreading ourselves, in terms of like working on classwork as well as like building a conference that sold out in like a week. Yes. So it's really been an incredible opportunity. And I think that can only happen in a space that celebrates, people from different backgrounds, people who have different visions for, what the university can look like. I think Scheller's done a phenomenal job of giving us the foundation and the platform to really think big and figure out where there are gaps that our skill sets can fill.
Absolutely. So just really quick, just to level set, for those of you who haven't heard of the Tech Forward Conference, Rose, do you mind giving an overview of what the conference is, maybe like how it got started? I know I'm involved too, but this is not about me. This is about y'all. So you want to take that away?
Yeah. So the Tech Forward MBA Conference, I'm not even sure which one of us, I think we were all on the same page somehow because we were all separately thinking about bringing something like this to tech. I know that whenever I came to my first company in Atlanta, how much people talked about Georgia Tech. It was a huge deal among my directors. It was a huge deal if you were going to interview somebody who is a Georgia Tech student. It was like, they're from Georgia Tech. We know they're going to be good. And so the fact that we have this huge reputation in Atlanta, I think we really wanted to leverage that to connect with both alumni and professionals in these other industries. And the other thing is with the innovation and the rise of AI, we wanted to make sure that we were preparing the students for how to, basically upskilling them for the future of AI. And so the conference will be 2 days on October 24th and October 25th. On October 24th, we have a few tech treks through the Synergy One building. which will include Home Depot, ATDC, and Engage, followed by a reception by Encoda by our amazing host Cisco. And then the second day, we have 3 different verticals. So one will be big tech, the second is retail tech, and the third is startups and VCs. So we'll have panels. We'll have opportunities to upskill through things like Microsoft's Copilot workshop. We have an AI in the future of work, talking about workforce development and the importance of upskilling, whether or not, AI is going to take our jobs, which is a big fear, or how we can prepare for that change. And then we also have an ethics AI workshop sponsored by Cecil B. Day.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to pretend like I didn't know about any of these things. No, I'm kidding. But so with us building this TechForward conference, maybe let's bring it back to Scheller and the why and the how. So earlier on, both of you mentioned how Scheller has really just given you everything that you need to feel like you can tackle the next challenge or strategy that you're trying to do. How have you been empowered while planning the TechForward conference? How have you been supported? Like, how have you leaned on the different stakeholders here at Scheller?
Yeah, I think that, in my case, one of the things that I really wanted to lean into this summer specifically was leveraging the fact that, we all had internships, we're working in different places, but really sort of serving as like the product manager for the conference and making sure that like each week we were having meetups, really keeping each other abreast of speakers that we had been engaging with, and also like really identifying who are the stakeholders within Scheller that we would need to get sort of permissions from in order to kind of move the needle forward. So the first step was really talking to the programs office, and out of the gate they were phenomenal. They were excited about this. I think Scheller at large is looking for students to sort of put together things, as I mentioned, think outside the box, what can impact not only, the student body, but what's helpful for faculty, what's helpful for staff as well. So the programs office was great. We actually were able to make this an official collaboration with the Charge program. So students who do attend the conference can get Charge credit, which is...
Charge credit.
Yeah, so the Charge program is an opportunity for students to have some sort of leadership experience while they're here. So the great thing is that team is led by Alexia Martin. She's phenomenal. It gives students the opportunity to work with an executive coach, really lean into what are the skills and the areas that I want to improve in, and Charge can sort of help you fill in those gaps during your tenure at Georgia Tech or in the business school. And so Alexia was super excited about partnering with us on that. And as I mentioned, students who do attend the conference can get Charge credit for that. Also, working with the Career Center. We really wanted the Career Center to understand that we are excited about the work that they've always done for us, but also just wanted to open the door for a lot of the companies that maybe have not had a chance to follow up since COVID, right? So a lot of companies were building relationships with Georgia Tech prior to, the world shifting and the culture of work really changing. And many of them had not circled back to say, we're looking for really talented students in these roles. So letting the Career Center know, like, this is something that we wanted. Dave Dieters and Caroline Player really, from day one, wrapped their arms around the idea and kind of helped set the introduction with the dean's office. And we were able to meet this summer with Dina Nuge. And, so far I feel like the reception from everyone has been fantastic. Scheller Marketing's been assisting us with some of the, getting the website put together and those sorts of things. So from top to bottom, I'm super grateful. I think I don't do anything without intention and understanding my intention for jumping into something. And I think that having that, intention that I want my peers in the program to really leave here feeling like something was for them. I think that messaging got translated, and I think all the departments within Scheller have really risen to the occasion based on that intention, for sure.
I mean, that's just great. Like, the ability to have an idea. I know we all had an individual idea, and to see it come to light very soon, it's just mind blowing. And just the support too. I second everything that you said, the support from marketing, programs, career services, Cecil B. Day Foundation. I think that's like the common theme for this entire episode is the community here at Scheller, collaborative, supportive, and just helping one bring this conference alive, but helping you both as women in technology, feeling like you can thrive here at Scheller and then beyond when you finish here. I guess just to end this really quickly, let's maybe give some advice to women who are thinking about applying to Scheller to get their MBA or another program similar that also are interested in technology. Do you have any advice that you would give to them? Start with you, Rose.
Yeah, I think my advice would be one, have a plan. The 2 years goes by very, very quickly. And so make sure you have a plan for what you want to get out of the MBA program so that you can make the most of your time and be able to prioritize, what's most important and what deserves your time. But I think apply. But make sure that whatever MBA program you find is the right fit for you. For me, Georgia Tech was the right fit because I wanted to strengthen my technical acumen. I wanted to be around other technologists. I wanted to have an opportunity to leverage the Georgia Tech brand to connect with folks at different companies. We've been able to, connect with CEOs, C-suite, VPs, directors, et cetera, through the conference and reaching out to them to speak. And so you can really make the program what you want and you get out of it, it's corny, but you do get out of the program what you put into it. And so having a plan before is really important while also being open to things, because I don't think I really expected this. I think I was thinking of it and then you guys were like, wait, I was thinking of the same thing. Yeah. And I'm so surprised by how much we've been able to do in maybe like 4 months. And so I've really been blown away by all that we've been able to accomplish, and I'm really excited for the students to see what we've prepared for them. It's going to be a really, really good 2 days.
Yeah, that's great. And Brooke, before we jump into your advice, Rose, your story, it really is fascinating to come to Scheller, be able to pivot to Microsoft, put on a full AI TechForward conference. Those are very big accomplishments. Oh, and go from individual contributor to manager. Like, my hand goes out to you. That's really awesome. I'm very proud of you. And then, Brooke, what advice would you leave?
I would honestly say don't be afraid to network, right? I think that with each of us, the conference wouldn't have happened if only one of us was working on it, or if we were afraid to sort of speak up and share the things that we wanted to bring forward here at Scheller. So I think the community piece is super important to me. And I think that if, anybody coming to Scheller College, if they want to leave some sort of legacy or have some sort of impact during their time outside of coming to, essentially get a job, I think that for me, the why is always a little bit bigger than just like, here's the short-term goal, right? It's really like, how can I not only do for myself, but how can other people, benefit greatly from me having been here? So the conference really has been a labor of love from my end, and it's been an incredible opportunity to work with the two of you. It's also been a great opportunity to see just what can happen when really talented people work together on a centralized goal. And to Rose's point, I'm so excited for those 2 days. I think students are going to be blown away. The sponsors that we've been able to cultivate and bring on have been amazing. And it's just a testament that Atlanta is, the future. And I think technology is here for a reason. It's here to stay. So just grateful to see what happens in October and beyond.
Absolutely. And one last thing, I forgot to talk about this. So not just with the TechForward conference, you both are involved in multiple leadership roles here at Scheller. Can you just quickly let me know what your roles are and how you feel like that's going to translate into your career?
Absolutely. So this year I serve as the VP of engagement for the Women in Business program. So it's been a really great opportunity to work with other talented women, really just to, fill in the gaps on what are women working on and sort of dealing with in corporate, that maybe this is a safe space for them to share those types of things. And then also was able to work with you all and kind of moving into the tech club to kind of lead the conference and work with a lot of the talented people within the tech club this year.
And then like leadership development, I think you're a charge fellow too, right?
Yes, I'm also a charge fellow. So having done a lot of the charge programming and, really leaned into some of the offerings that charge put together in the fall, I was able to earn enough credit to become a charge fellow, which is a great opportunity to continue on with executive coaching, really, working on executive presence and speaking. And those were personal goals coming into Scheller that I feel like confidently when I leave, I will have had those through the charge program.
I love that. And Rosa, what about you?
So I am the co-president with you for the technology club on the evening side. And I think a big learning for me has been we've currently just grown our team to an exec board of 6 people to now having 12 people because now our first year reps have come on. And then we also have a whole nother committee of 10 people who we're going to bring on for the TechForward MBA Conference. And so I'm kind of in the same position with a lot of what I'm doing and learning how to delegate and kind of manage folks is the same thing I'm also practicing in my, current job. And so a lot of times coming from that individual contributor role, I have the urge to kind of do the work. But now I'm stepping into a management role, and so I'm having to coach folks. I'm having to empower them. I'm having to focus on giving them the tools and then letting them, make their own decisions. And so that's something that I've been able to practice in a safe space, kind of like, oh, this works. Or maybe I need to have a one-on-one with this person to make sure this is getting done. And so it's giving me another chance to kind of practice that skill and hone in on that skill of developing people, because it is very different from kind of me going from being more of like a doer and like, I'm going to get it done to like, no, we have to scale things. If kind of like what you just said, right? We weren't going to be able to build this conference the way it is if it was just one of us working on it. We needed 3 people. And now we're about to have this huge team. How do we make sure that it's reflective of the whole team that we've grown and brought on, and make sure that, we expand it beyond the 3 of us to now the committees, the whole committee is bringing it on. And so that's been a big part. And then also the Tiger program, which we're all a part of, has been a great way for me to kind of just keep that one toe in the startup world and kind of have that creative builder, innovative spirit to keep that going.
The Tiger, that's the technology innovation.
Generating.
Yeah. It's a mouthful, Tiger.
It is, yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting you both. Thank you so much for jumping on to the Intersection podcast. It really seems like you've both made the most out of your journey here at Scheller, being involved, active in technology, being women, a part of Women in Business Clubs, putting on a whole conference. I mean, I literally can't think of another thing you could have put on your plate. So, thank you for being here. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you can come back again soon.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Intersection podcast. I invite you to rate, subscribe, and like us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. Have a good day.